Welcome back, James.
Thanks for having me.
Season 4, fourth visit, and first guest. So great to
First
have you
guest
here.
of season 4.
No, first guest in general.
Oh,
ever.
yeah. I was gonna say.
Ever on the podcast.
Yeah. Returning for round 4.
Yeah. I thought today we could, I guess, recap on the last 9 months since the last episode we did. Talk about what's happening. Maybe make some predictions.
Yeah.
General yarn.
It's your podcast. I'll follow your lead. I think that if there is anything that I can talk about while we are here, probably the most valuable would be the time since last podcast to now. Just based on what I have had, like what the year's been like. You know, I think there'd be some stuff in that hopefully relevant to your audience. We've gone through a really steep learning curve over the last 9 months. It's like I've had a crash course in going from small to medium, or small to medium sized business, and learned some pretty tough lessons along the way. And I was driving on the way here and I was like, that's stuff that I should talk about while I'm here.
Okay. Yeah. Would you summarize it as a composition of several things, many contributing factors, or are you talking like one structural thing that?
There's one structural thing that led to probably 10 different individual things.
A cascading effect.
Yeah. And it took a lot of self-reflection to figure out what that one thing was. And it was an inability to control I've always had this attitude where I've really wanted to see the best in people and see people step up and do things like on their own accord. I've always really liked that as an idea. I still like that as an idea, just as a disclaimer. But as the person who runs a company, we were at our biggest 24 people this year. As a person who runs a company of that size, you also have don't pass this line that you need to clearly establish when you're letting someone find their feet. I think that around this time when we did our last podcast, say 9 months ago, I had a 5 or a 6 month old. And in the pursuit of trying to set my life up to be better equipped to be a parent, I had made some mistakes with the way that I'd structured my company. And then instead of correcting those mistakes when I knew they were mistakes, I let them ride, hoping that the mistakes would correct themselves and it would be a really good learning curve for everyone involved in it. It wasn't. And off the back of that, we went through from, say, January through to probably April. April was when I was like, no more. Like April was my line in the sand. I got to go and fix this now. And I mean, I could give examples. There's some stuff that I can, some stuff that I can't talk about in a public forum or actually at all. I could give examples until the cows come home, but I essentially allowed us to go through a period because I didn't have visibility over like the true health of the business, which is something that I've established recently that I think has really changed the game for me. I didn't have ability or view of the true health of the business. I then had what I would define as a senior team, paid like a senior team with senior responsibilities, but that weren't delivering an output that matched that or that visibility for me. So rather than working hard to establish the visibility and creating the systems, I kind of just left it up to other people to make sure everything was okay. Those people aren't going to care. And when you hit the fortnightly payroll and the cash isn't there, they don't give a shit because it doesn't, and they shouldn't, for being completely transparent. But if you have a really good, really well bought in team in a scenario like that, they will. And so we essentially went through this period where something that I thought I was never going to have to do, I had to go through a restructure at one point in time this year. We went from being the business that I think probably had the best culture in the market I would say maybe 2 years ago from now by a landslide. We were like that company that everyone wanted to work for and that sort of thing, to that culture gradually decreasing in how it was, like what the feel of the environment was over probably 18 months leading into that point, to then a culture that was so bad that even I didn't want to go to work. And we recycled the majority of our staff through that period of time. There were some amazing lessons in that. Like if you're, I'm not going to say the guy because it's not very 2025. If you're the person in a business and you actually are that person, you should be able to cycle through staff and get better rather than get worse. If you're cycling through staff and your business is deteriorating rapidly as a result, you probably aren't as good as you think you are. And so that was really important. We've recycled most of the team probably. A lot of fresh people in since Christmas. The team is no longer 24. So what basically happened was our culture got thrashed through this period where we turned this corner March, April, and I was like, we can't keep doing this stuff. I've got to take control of it or we will die. Like there was no, 1 month we churned out 16 clients, and we were a big business. We were working with about 100 clients each month. That's still 16, So even with the size that we were then, we it's huge. And it's not that the month before or the month after we did 0. Like we might have done 8 the month before and 6 the month after or whatever. And we weren't signing anything through the first 3 months of the year. And feel free to guide me on this because I'm going to ramble a little bit because I've got a lot in my head that I'm trying to get out in this format. But what I basically had to do is I had to, first of all, prove that we could still sell stuff. And we were at a point where it was like the revenue was probably do or die. Like it was like, find some cash or you're pretty fucked. And so I did that. And I was like, okay, so now I'm going to prove that I'm still the person when it comes to selling. And so I went and I found about 60,000 a month of recurring revenue over probably 2 months, plus another maybe 80 grand in one-off fees. And that helped us to course correct and bought us a couple of months. And then I had to go, okay, so what is going on here that is not working? An upside of our culture crashing was that a lot of the people that through this period as well, I had like 2 separate serious misconduct investigations. Just hell as a business owner. I probably wrote up maybe 20 grand in HR/legal fees, like disaster everywhere. People aren't paying bills, like it's all just like a perfect storm. And I had to really go, okay, what do I need to do to fix this? And I was like, step 1 was sell. So I went and sold. I was extremely lucky at the time that I had my brother working for me. And he'd said to me at the start of the year, I'll do whatever you need. I'm in for whatever. I don't want to go work at bars. I just want to provide value to him. So I called him one night and I'm like, right, I need you for this next period. And I was like, you've done some cold calling. You found your feet here. It hasn't worked. Every meeting you set up from now moving forwards, I'm taking, and we're going to go and fix this together. And having someone who was like, let's go fucking get it. Like there was no, like he was like, we're on. He was financially incentivized a little bit, but like not that much. He was more incentivized by the concept of helping us through this period. And honestly, it was like, we were joking now because he did a lot of our other work throughout that period of time. He set up a lot of our automations and stuff. And now every time I get a digital simple lead come through, there's a video of LeBron James in the 2006 finals after he hit this shot doing this. And we had this running joke going where he was Dwayne Wade and I was LeBron James in the 2006 finals. And we were doing, and so that's honestly what it felt like. It was like Batman and Robin. And we went and just fucking attacked the sales thing. That bought us a little bit of time. I then realized I needed to make some pretty dramatic changes to the business. We'd had a number of people leave on their own accord. And we were lucky that up until right towards the end of this challenge, a lot of the people that left were people we were comfortable to have leave. Then we lost probably the 3 people we didn't want to lose the most right at the end there. But before this happened, we had this opportunity where we had a business. I wasn't super in control, and I know this sounds crazy, of who we were hiring and why. And so of 24 people, we had 11 or 12 of those people were actually doing the work, and the entire rest of our staffing was made up of admin, operations, management, like different things like that weren't actually the people doing the stuff. And so what that creates, and I didn't know this, but what that creates is a real quality of delivery gap as you scale bigger. Because when you get bigger, you hire more admin people or whatever, but you're not hiring more of the people who are doing the work, which means the quality of the work slides. It doesn't matter how many people there are telling people what to do. If there aren't enough people to do it, the quality of the work will continue to go downhill, which is what was happening. We were getting up to this kind of 100 client point, and then we would lose clients. Then we'd get back to 100, then we'd lose clients, we'd get back. And we've been doing that for a couple of years. And so that was the big realization we kind of had going through this period. As those people were leaving, a lot of them were like the admin roles and things like that, we were then replacing them with more delivery people. So now we've got a team of 19 people now. We just had the person that I was probably the most upset about leaving throughout this whole period. He just signed an employment contract with us last week to come back. So we'll be 19 with him. But of those 19 people, we would have 14 on the tools, 15 on the tools. So it's like very delivery heavy. And we've essentially rebuilt the entire way that we operate based around having a higher level, like higher quality product off the back of that. With that, we're now back up around 200,000 a month recurring, which is wicked. That's sort of our safe spot. It's doing about 300 grand a month in revenue. And that's sort of where we want to be at all times. And this month, September, will be the first month since Christmas that we will cross over that line again. We will probably have the best margins we've ever had now. It's been wildly difficult this year, but we've been able to really course correct and probably get to what I would say is our best position ever off the back of it. And we will finish up this year the strongest we've been. But yeah, there's just been like, I could just sit here, and I was thinking on the way here, I wonder how long this podcast is, because I could go for 2 hours on like line by line lessons I've learned this year.
Yeah.
And I will probably start to do that over on our Business Simple podcast and go through a lot of these things a little bit more practically. But just as the owner, it's so easy to just go so fast and lose sight of things. And you do all these things to try to stop yourself from doing that. Like I've set up an advisory board and I've done all this stuff, but like an advisory board takes time to settle in, and all these things take time so that before you really get a chance. The senior leadership team thing, like I was obsessed with the concept of a senior leadership team. That's not what we need. That's not what we need. We need every person to have really clearly defined responsibilities and then just to go out and smash them. But there's no fucking pyramid. You know, like I'll be in there setting up ads if I need to. I'll be doing this. It's the same with everyone on the team now, and that needs to be the feel. And then also, like, if you've got a good culture, protect it at all costs. And the cost is often, if someone is not contributing to that culture, moving them on. Like, it's just the way that it is. It sucks. You can like the person. It can be not a personal thing, but like, there's not much more important. And if you don't, what's going to happen is your good people are going to go. Like and if they're the real good ones, they'll stick around for a little bit. And if you go like, hey, I'm going to fix this for you, they will stay for a bit. But there will be cracks that will slowly start to form. And all it takes is one person turning around and going, you two come with me, and they'll be able to grab them. So we were lucky that I think due to me being the person, we were able to course correct. And then I was able to go, right, I'm fixing sales and I'm fixing culture. Step 1, step 2, fix sales, fix culture, just like that. And it took probably 3 months, 4 months to do both of those things. And then because of the equity that we had with a lot of these people, we were then able to pull back the really good ones that had gone, which has put us back in this spot. But yeah.
It's a wild journey. And I guess reflecting back and going back in time toward the intent of creating the senior leadership team, you can beat yourself up about it and not being the right move, but it was done with the intent to distribute leadership and to create more autonomy, right? And so I guess in hindsight, you can look at it in two different ways, right? You can look at it like it wasn't the right move, But you could also argue that maybe it could have been the right move.
I
You'll never
don't have
know,
any-
right?
Yeah, I don't have any regrets about the decisions that I made. I just have regrets about knowing that seeing the decision was wrong and not fixing it sooner.
Faster, yeah.
Yeah, that's the. And to be fair, like once I got a grasp of what was going on, I went pretty quick to try to realign things. And then I had 2 months of serious misconduct investigations and things like that that really, really disrupted the pace that I was able to go through it. And because you can only buy, I mean, to be fair, actually, going back in hindsight, I would have just ripped the fucking Band-Aid off and gone real hard early. But that's a lesson that I've learned. And it's been a tough one to learn. But at the time, the advice I got was go one step at a time. And I don't think that advice was incorrect. I don't think that anyone could have seen what was going to unfold over the 5 months following that point. Literally no one. Like I've had conversations with employment lawyers and people like that, and they've been like, I've never seen this, you know? So it's like, it was just, I kind of, I'd had really good luck from that perspective for the first 6 years of running the business.
True.
That luck ran out in a big way.
Yeah. It's wild to think back, say 24, 36 months ago to, perhaps one of those earlier 1 or 2 episodes, right? And just what a different stage you were at.
Yeah.
In terms of business, size and complexity, even just like lifestyle wise, right? Like I just thinking back to 75 Hard and like getting, your old office on Chewham Street.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think what can happen in a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah. I think probably I think the biggest thing that I've come to terms with this year is that I look back on myself in those periods of time and I realize how unaware I was, if that makes sense. I realized that like I had a habit of, there was a lot of things that I didn't like about my job as the director of this company. And instead of being like, but that's your job, so you're going to go and do them, I cut myself slack and I farmed out those responsibilities and I did those things. It's just not how it works, unfortunately. And like, if you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. Like there's no alternative. All you do is a disservice to everyone else if you go there and you don't execute things the way that you should.
Yeah.
You don't make the calls you need to make. A lot of those calls that you make are really small ones. Like I think people initially go like, oh, you have to fire someone. It's like, it very rarely gets to that point if you make the correct decisions prior to that, right? Like if you just have a conversation, hey, this isn't it. Like what we're doing right now isn't working. People will often turn around and be like, you can just say like, do you want it to work? And they'll often turn around and be like, yeah. I'm like, cool, okay, let's do it then.
Yeah.
Like
I think you're right.
Those sorts of conversations are just the ones that they're the hardest to have. But you wind up, if you let them go too far, you wind up so worked up and pent up about it all. I never want to be that like lost faith in people, business owner stereotype where everyone knows the guy, right?
Totally.
Where they just
resentful.
They hate everyone.
They hate
everyone. Yeah,
they're bitter.
I never want to be that guy. And I could see following this year how you could become that person, because you will, in the pursuit of where we are collectively trying to go, you will be challenged by people at points. It's the heat.
It's the way it is.
Yeah,
it is the game. Yeah.
And if you don't like it, get out of the kitchen.
Hey, quick interruption. When I'm not podcasting, I'm working on growing alt and working with clients as my main role as a business coach. Right now, I'm looking to meet more fellow business owners. The reason is simple. The more people I know, the more value I can bring, whether it's through coaching, the podcast, or just connecting good people. If you're based in Christchurch, let's grab a coffee. If you're further afield, let's jump on a call. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, I think I quite like the what is it, the acronym? Like API. I don't know if you've heard this one. It's like a Dan Martell thing. He's like, assume positive intent. And it's quite different than what maybe historically I've been. I can be the one of two things. I can be the super positive and optimistic, or really like just cynical and like no tolerance at all. But this whole API thing, it's like assume positive intent, which is like, if it's a staff member, it's like assume that they want to do a good job and that they want to contribute and they want to provide value, but also understand that there's other factors, right?
Yeah.
So there is life outside of work.
Yeah.
And so it's I don't know.
I think
it's
that,
good. I think it is good.
I think that we were not hurt by anybody that was not hurt by that this year. Like, I think everyone that we had challenges with or everything that went wrong this year, those people had other things going on outside of which led to them not being able to apply themselves the way we needed them to. But we never took the time to have that conversation with a lot of these people when it was happening. And because of that, by the time we got to bed, we were already too far gone. And that's what I mean with like the early conversations.
Totally.
Yeah, no one did worse than me this year. You know, like it was my responsibility. And there were a lot of people involved in this that did nothing wrong, that were hurt by the way that the business moved. You know, like people came and worked for us because they loved the culture and they believed in our mission, and then no one had a mission and we had a shit culture, and like that's going to negatively affect people. And so you just have to understand who the people are, and ideally it's your whole team. And I feel like right now it's very close to that. Ideally it's your whole team that you are willing to protect from that. And that's how I feel about it. We've had an exceptional, a person that started with us at the start of the year and had a really strong impact despite the fact that we were hurtling downhill at a rate of knots. She left because she was a good person and she was like, it's not the time for me to be here, and I can tell it's not the time for me to be here. As a result of the changes we made, she came back, and that's been a huge part of us turning this corner that we've done. And then like I talked about someone else who starts back on the 6th of October with us. He's like, he bleeds black and yellow just like me, you know, like it's not, and it was so sad that he left, but I think we both sort of knew when he was going, like, hey, it was kind of more of a go do these things you've told me you'll do, and I'm here. It's just I need to see it. And so that was a really nice reality check for me, where I was like, do I really want this person back? And I was like, yes, I do. And that was a good motivator for me to then go and make the changes, as well as like the family element. Like that's something that I could have never estimated would have been as challenging as it has been. I mean, like, bless Jen, but like there was 5 or 6 months there where like I was not in a good spot, you know, and like the meetings I'm having, the decisions I'm making, the work that I'm putting in, we're talking like wake up, work, come home, be a shell of a human, work more, go to sleep, wake up, work, and you've got a 6-month fucking kid at home. You'd like try, but even they don't make you happy, you know, like you're fucking beaten to a pulp. I think most people would have called it. I think most people would have either tapped out or been forced out. And I was just lucky that we've always, me and the people that I'm close with have always had a little bit of a mentality where if we ever got to that point, we'd be fucking barricaded up in our office and we'd fight until we had, fight until our last breath. And there was a few times where I thought about it and I was like, this is tough, but I'm just gonna bite down on my mouth guard and just fucking go for it.
Keep going.
And that saved us. That mentality saved us. And a lot of people probably don't know how hard and far they could go until they get tested, but they'd be pleasantly surprised.
I mean, it's a really interesting thought though, in that who are the people that can't make it? And I put a post up recently looking for someone that's crossed that barrier, right? They have either pushed too far and they've extended themselves beyond what they're capable of handling, either financially or mentally. Yeah. But, we don't often talk about that, right?
But like that was me this year. Like we bought 2 houses the tail end of last year. We settled another one. We carried, like financially, I should not have probably made it through, I don't think. And there's been a few times that have been pretty hairy. There's been a few payrolls where at the start of the day of the payroll, we haven't had the money for the payroll and we've figured it out, haven't missed one, haven't had, we've borrowed, we've done all sorts, like we've done whatever we've had to do to get through. I was so far beyond the point of, and then also like it's a bit of a challenging one because I've that's digital simple, but also I've got the agentery thing going on now. I've got your marketer. We've got a billboard company that will launch reasonably soon. I've decided because the tail end of last year was quite good. We were performing really well. We were super profitable, and there was just cash everywhere. But I mean, December last year we did like 350 grand in revenue, and so when you're at that size and you can still remember doing 80 grand a year in revenue, it's hard to feel like you can be hurt. Like you actually do have that, whether you listen to it or not. You have that voice in your head that's like, I am bulletproof. Like if you shot me, it would bounce off. And unfortunately, I believe that a part of this path that you go through is you have to realize that's not true in order to get to the next level. And there's no way anyone could have told me that or explained it in a way that I would have believed them. It's just not, like it just wasn't even a concept for me at that point in time. Unfortunately, it was the case.
That's the hard thing with what I do is that all I can do is be a guide or be a resource, right?
Yeah.
But to tell someone or to make a suggestion that maybe there's a storm coming, it doesn't always resonate. And I get it. Like I understand that.
Yeah.
But I think the game in life, it is a cyclical thing, right? Mm-hmm. It is a wave. And I think that there's very, very few that have gone from A to Z in a straight upward linear path. It doesn't generally happen.
And I think in hindsight, you wouldn't even want that. I think when you're in the thick of the challenge, and it's probably worth, the start of this episode's been somewhat, maybe somber's the word for it, but I think it's worth like really noting that like the point we are at right now is fucking sick. Like we are profitable again. Our culture is exceptional. It's never been so good. Like, not as good as it was. Better than it was. We have systems and processes in place where we can genuinely put people in and they will thrive just based off the environment, let alone the fact that they also have the support and these structures and these, the team we've got is good. We can be dynamic and flexible. Our model is a bit more simplified. We have visibility over profitability per employee, per team, the whole thing is moved in such a positive direction. So the other one as well is if you can hang on, the other side is real cool.
Yeah, I agree.
And oftentimes when you look back on your story, I don't think you'll look back on those hard periods and be like, it's kind of like having a kid, right? Like you have the newborn phase and then you don't sleep for 3 months and you're like, this is so hard. And then the kid's not a newborn anymore. And you're like, fuck, I wish they were a newborn again. Like you remember the positive points, like that Dwayne Wade, LeBron James run that I went on with my brother and we went and pulled all that cash out of fucking nowhere and made all those things happen. Like that was all time for me in terms of business experiences. And don't get me wrong, I was still deeply stressed and deeply challenged by what was going on at that period. But like, how sick is just going and ripping 11 clients out of thin air in a month and just turning a corner and like everyone around you's telling you that the market's shit, no one can sell anything, blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, watch me. And then you and your brother that was a finance major at uni just go and fix it. And you know what I mean? Like that stuff is cool, man.
It is
like,
cool.
Those are, and like at the same time as a whole part of this year's helped me realize where I'm insufficient, it's also helped me realize what I'm genuinely gifted when it comes towards as well. And, we've got a bit of a challenge going on at the moment where I'm trying to do 50 grand of recurring revenue this month.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're about halfway through the month and I have, what would I have to go? 32 to go. I got a couple, I was sort of hoping before I came in here they'd come off. I've probably got another 14 to confirm, I'd say, over the next day or two.
Okay, so
that takes 14, us down to 18. Like 18 to go. So we'll have a genuine crack at getting this. Like it'll be close. And I'm not really doing myself any favors because we've had a couple of decent wins over this month that don't count because I'm considering recurring revenue as like planned for 3 months plus and different. I've got my own rules that I can't bend. So yeah, we will have a real decent run at that, and we have the capacity to onboard these people, and we have a lot of cool things that are sort of going on at the moment. It just becomes real fun again real fast. That's probably the biggest thing.
I think gamifying the process is really valuable.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is the visibility, and I think that's a huge part of whether it's business and money or if it's fitness and lifestyle. I think that if you can install those two components, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. Just like make it fun. I mean, I know, for example, for myself, I'm not super motivated when it comes to like the actual financial side of things, but like I really like cars and clothes and watches and stuff
you
like
like
that.
what it can provide.
So I'm like, why don't I tie something like that to a challenge like this? Or why don't I do, like that sort of stuff is more entertaining to me than anything else.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, the numbers on the screen don't necessarily provide any emotional attachment, do they? So do you have a specific prize at the end if 50K's hit?
Kind of. I've been tickling around with the concept of buying a car. I won't say specifically what it is, but I have all of the details for it, and I believe the ability to, if I decide it's the right way to go, to do it. I had a goal that I wanted to get to that 50K recurring wouldn't quite get us there. But I was like, if I can do that in a month, I'd only be sort of 5K short of our monthly recurring goal before it would be time. So whether it's that monthly recurring goal or whether it's the 50K one, I just want to put a barrier in the way of doing it. I deeply, despite the fact that there's no way to logically justify it, I really enjoy vehicles. It's not for anyone else. It's for myself. It's always been that way. And I just, like I said, there's no way to justify it. But that's been a big motivator for me all time. And I would like probably there to be, I'd like to do something. I was thinking about this on the way there. And like, I think the thing with cars is I had a conversation with someone the other day and he was talking about all these young guys in their Porsches was the expression that he used. And I've thought about it an unreasonably large amount of time. He was essentially saying that he was envious of these young guys and their Porsches and how the stuff is, like what their lifestyle is like at this stage. And I was looking at him and I was like, I know how much cash you've got in the bank. I know you've got no debt on your property. I know the size of your business and the way you do things. Like financially, you're in infinitely better of a position than a lot of these people. And if you wanted to go and buy a car like this, you could go do it tomorrow with not even a whim of consideration. You just have played the game a little bit differently. And a big part of the game that I'm playing now is I've got a family. We've got a family trust to set up. I want to put some properties in it. I want to start doing some things like that are the long-term game. Because when you start a family, you start to realize, okay, my lifestyle for the next 20 years, give or take, is going to be pretty different to the way that it was beforehand. So you start to think about what you want it to look like in 20 years. And you've got this person that you're partnered up with who's kind of riding through this incredibly fulfilling, but also deeply challenging period with you. And you really want to both be able to unite around, like, do we want to be like late 40s, early 50s, spending 3 months a year in Europe? Do we want to be what is it that we want that to look like? And we know we can't not have any fun for the next 20 years, but if that's what our life is going to be like at that point in time, let's work this backwards. Like, what sort of income would we need without doing anything to be able to fund something like that? I know those trips aren't super cheap, so it's like, how do we do that in a way where we would be able to handle it and feel really good about it? And so you've got all of a sudden things become a little bit different, because I live my life very fast lane, impulse decisions, do what I want, figure it out later, up until that point in time. And then you bring this extra element where there's other people who are dependent on you and that sort of thing into the mix. And then you have that ability to provide challenged in a big way like I did this year. And you go, holy shit, like there's a, I've never really cared about having a heap of a war chest for a rainy day, because I've always just been like, I can always just buckle up and work 16 hours a day and fix any problem we've got. I can't do that anymore. That's like, it's not, well, I can, but it's like at the expense of their well-being. When it's at the expense of mine, I don't really care. But when it's theirs, it's a completely different story, right? So now things like that become more important. You're like, you need your little rainy day fund. You need your company to have like probably 6 months of overheads stored in a savings account. You need those things. And you go through a period where you destroy your entire war chest like we did this year. You essentially have to rebuild from zip, but with really high overheads. It just will make you question the way that you've done everything up until this point. I have zero regrets. I would do nothing differently if I could go back in time, because the position that we're in now, or the business that I feel like I'm steering the ship of now, is so good. Like and I probably wouldn't have even appreciated it so much if I hadn't gone through the period before it. But what I think with challenging periods like the one this year is, I think the real people, or the real marker of the people that know what they're doing, is what the 18 months afterwards look like, and how you respond to the shots that you've taken, where you're then able to take your team, take your clients, take yourself over that period is the sort of the real measure of how good of a job you've done.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is that many things need to be learned through experience, that you won't resonate if it's either someone talking about it through their experience or reading about it, right? Like, you've just got to learn through experience.
And hey, maybe I am just like dumb, and like most people don't have to go through this. Like, I don't know, right? I don't know.
I don't know either. It's a good question though.
I was doing, for this presentation that we've just done, this marketing one, I did quite a bit of, because I did quite a comprehensive like intro section to it, because I recognized that I don't really tell that like first 4 years story of my business journey very much. But like, we genuinely, and I botch the numbers sometimes in my head, but our first 4 years of business 4 to 5 years of business were generally pursuant with, we traded for 9 months and we did about 80 grand in revenue. And then the year after we did 160. The year after that we did 340. The year after that we did 650. And the year after that we did 1.21 million. And so we did, in say 4 years and 9 months or whatever, we doubled 5 times. And so when you go on a run like that, and you also have no clue what you're doing, like I didn't understand about putting aside money for tax or cash flow, or like any of these things that these like older, more weathered business people really truly understand. You don't actually get a chance to learn, I think, the lessons in a smaller way, because you're pretty bulletproof. Like, you have ridiculously high client churn, but it doesn't matter because you're great at selling. Or you have, staff members come and go, but there's a few that stick around, and they're the only ones that really matter.
Very high. It's fine.
Like, like you develop what are habits which are functional. It's like, I use the word functional because I think of like a functional alcoholic, right? Like you have a bad habit, but it doesn't really impact you day by day too much. But then it comes home to roost at some point in time. And I think that was what sort of happened with us, is I had bad habits, but like I wasn't really being punished for them. That, and like I knew these things were problems, but like, why does it matter? Like, we were able to buy the house and do the car thing and do all that sort of stuff. And, admittedly, I probably hung on to a few of those things too long when things started moving downhill, maybe. But we aren't by any stretch out of the pain point completely yet, but we are in a different position as a result of those decisions. And I just think it's a wild thing to try to, like, something I haven't even fully digested yet. It's a wild thing to try to get your head around as a period of like intense pain like that, like violent, hard every day. You wake up in the morning and your first thought is just like, fuck, another round, and you do that 200 days in a row, 300 days in a row. It's just it's so deep. It's so deep. But you know, if you keep going and you get through it.
Well, that's it. I guess you look at the options available, right? One is to quit and tap out, and
Yeah.
you know, and then from that path, I guess you could either then go again, or you could get a job. But
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. Everyone's different, right? Everyone's got their own priorities and preferences, but
Yeah.
I think the true blood entrepreneur sees it as an opportunity to learn and grow and
Yeah.
weather. And
My belief is that this was the thing we needed to go to that next step. And I'd never known how to get to the next step, but now I can see, and I couldn't see before. And I've never dreamt of being a business that gets to 3.5 million a year in turnover and then just stops there. That's never been my plan. And I don't know long term exactly what Digital Simple looks like, but whether it's to exit or to replace myself within it and fit more in a role that is less work, more fun, or whatever it is, regardless of where we're going, we needed to get through this stage and we needed to figure out how to go to that next level. And this has shown me that.
And I think that's quite unique in itself. And it's a learning that I've come across lately, is that there is very few people that have ambition, have the desire to go beyond that certain, to ambition, I guess.
I think everyone, I'll challenge that just slightly. I think everyone's ambitious. Nowadays, I think everyone wants whatever the other side of that journey looks like. But the difference is the people that are willing to go through the journey to get there. And that journey, no matter who you are, what happens, anything. Like, sure, there's the odd kid you hear of with the crypto upside who made $20 million, or like those people do exist, but they are the anomalies. And the real thing that I think separates out people is the people with that pain tolerance to go through those really hard periods.
Yeah.
Everyone wants the cars, the houses, the lifestyle, whatever it is, the holidays, the clothes, the freedom, the whatever it is. Everyone wants something that entrepreneurship can give you. But the differentiating factor between the people that get there, which I am not there, but the people that I've seen get there, is the pain tolerance throughout the process and the ability to go one more round and then one more and then one more and then one more in perpetuity until you get there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think if you look at a lot of business owners, though, they're in it and it's more of a job, it's more of a self-employed role. They might have staff and they might have infrastructure, but they're in a job essentially, right? I think there's that cohort. I think there's the other ones that have just found themselves in a business.
Yeah.
I think that's probably another big chunk. And then there is those ones that want what is online, right? They want the things but aren't necessarily willing to do the thing required to get the thing. Yeah. But yeah, I think if you look at the total pie and you look at how many are actually doing it, capable, ambitious, and willing to tolerate that pain, it's a pretty small number, I think.
I agree. And then you stop looking at short time periods and you start looking at long time periods, and then it gets completely different. Like, the people that can do really well for a year or 2 years, maybe 3, is a completely different portion of people than the ones that can do it well over 10 or 20. And that's the real thing that I've started to refocus on, is I'm like, okay, so I can make cool shit happen over a short period of time, i.e. go and find a whole bunch of clients in 1 month or whatever. But like, what do I need to do to, in 10 years from now, have my life continuously improve gradually uphill for 10 years straight, rather than to fluctuate massively uphill, downhill. And there's that like serial entrepreneur stereotype, which is someone who has one business model, then another one, and they've got their fingers in 20 unrelated pies, and they've got all those things going on. How does that person's trying to get there fast? The people who are trying to get there for certain are the different ones, I think, and they don't care how fast it is. This current position we're in, I'll stay here for the next 5 years and be content with that. As long as there's gradual improvements and growth, you just have to then be patient.
It'd be so interesting doing episode 5, right? Like what will transcend or play out in the next 9-12 months, right?
If I can give my predictions, I think that in 12 months from now, you will not recognize Digital Simple, because I think that the lessons that I had to go through this year, the payoff for those will be unlike anything that we've experienced before. And the early signs of that we're seeing right now are just crazy. They're just crazy. The difference between staff, like the way that they're finding the environment, the client retention, all of those sorts of things. My business has never operated like this before. And the things that we've uncovered are the things that we needed to go to that next level. And so what I'm really excited about is I like that there was a good period there where we were kind of the people in our market. We were, and we weren't the only ones, but like there were a few key players that did what we did and did it well. And we were the only ones that had a 26-year-old at the time steering the ship, all gas, no brakes, like this sort of mentality. And we have this really unique opportunity to mature over the next 12 months that I think will really change things and become a pretty serious player in what we do. And I think now we have the system to do that in a way where we don't have to give up margins or profit in order to scale. We can just go and then go again and then go again. I've got a few things to unlock still, but they don't daunt me after what we've just figured out.
And it is a continual process as well, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I liked about the sentiment from one of the momentum speakers. They were just talking about the most important attribute of an entrepreneur being the ability to solve problems.
Yeah.
Because there's no shortage of them. They keep coming and they just get different, bigger, larger, And so I think that's something I've been mulling over a lot lately.
Yeah.
Is that if you can solve problems and if you can continue to play the game and just to go about that sort of trajectory, then you'll win as long as you can stay in it. Yeah.
For sure.
I was just thinking about the Altitude Collective, actually, James.
Yeah.
Should we do a quick plug on that?
Your podcast.
You can do anything.
You can do anything.
The reason I bring it up, and I won't go into details, but we've had the first event. It's kicked off. It's launched, which is really cool. I've had this idea for a wee while, and I've been familiar, or the idea of a mastermind has existed for a long time.
Yeah.
Within New Zealand, as far as I'm aware, there's not a lot of them. They may be around, and they likely are, but America, US based, it's quite a common thing.
Yeah.
And so what it's been really cool to see is like this group of people that I've assembled and invited to be a part of it come together at the initial Black Estate event.
Yeah.
Some good conversations happen, and then a few like unlikely possible connections arising from that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been, am I allowed to talk about ours there? Do you think the other person involved will be comfortable with it?
Maybe not in specifics, but
so we
conceptually.
Yeah, conceptually. So we, speaking of staff churn, and this maybe there's a wider conversation that can flow from this quite nicely. But forever I've been obsessed with this concept of us being a one-stop shop. So we've had web developers and we've had, videographers. To be fair, they definitely are a part of what we're doing moving forwards. I fucking love video, we could probably do a whole podcast episode on. But I've had a website developer in-house probably since very early in Digital Simple's days. So when we had a team of like 4 people, one of them did websites and design and stuff like that for us. And as we continue to grow, we continue to get website people. We got more and more expensive website people. We got more and more skilled website people. And our latest website developer's been really good. He's resigned. And off the back of the Altitude Collective, I was communicating with an owner of another website development company because I was intrigued by what they were up to and what their digital offering sort of was and what capacity there was for that. And it looks like that will turn into some really exciting opportunities for Digital Simple. Website developer then resigns. And so because of this connection with this person, and because I have a deep trust for them, I was just like, what does it look like if we just contract this out now? Because it frees up salary space for me. And I know our revenue earners are retainer ad management, retainer social content management. Like that is where our money comes from. And obviously videography is a part of both of those things, but that's how we eat. That's how we eat. And so freeing up that salary space to have another ads person, like another really skilled one, for example, made a lot of sense to me at the time. And then I was able to look at the total revenue we've done through websites this year versus the amount of money that we've spent on websites. And the multiple is not the same as ads. Let's just, to put that in a very nice way, our multiples on ads people are strong because we have so much leverage through our systems and processes and the outcomes that we can create there. So I was like, hey, do you reckon we could just contract our stuff out? And we would have to date put probably 25 grand's worth of work through this agency. Our margins in theory are a lot better than are a lot worse than what they were, because obviously if you're paying someone on a salary, the hourly rate that you pay them on salary is considerably less than what you contracted out for. But this company offered us a bit of a discounted rate and like a bit of a partnership thing. And longer term, we would like to be involved with them in a more serious way and become, they give us a bit of leverage to become a real player in this space. So, but the funny thing about this margins thing is like, in theory, we make less per hour, what we're doing now, but we have a fixed margin now. So we know how much we make off everything that we send their way.
Exactly.
Whereas beforehand, when we were charging for the hours, we were making a lot more, but the dead hours were costing us so much. So this person kind of has to hold the risk for it. But in exchange, it takes a whole bunch of pressure off him because he doesn't have to go out and find as much work. And he would have scoped 10 projects for us already. So there's probably another 200 grand in the pipeline that we could probably pull through for what we're doing there. But just a couple of coffees, a conversation there, a coffee, a meeting at our office, and we're in the game. And because he was a part of that Altitude Collective, we sort of knew what he was like. We knew what he was like through it being a mutual connection of ours and all those sorts of things. And so it was able to be one that was like really financially beneficial for him immediately. And then there's a level of trust there, which is wild. He just sent me his like client value for the last 4 years and the client names just in a spreadsheet today. And he's like, go through and tell me the ones you think you can help out with digitally. And I'm like, that's like the level of trust that is there is so high. He knows we're not going to torch him. I know he's not going to torch me. We're both super flexible about stuff because we're just like, hey, let's just like see how this goes. Let's just see how this goes. And like, if it doesn't work out, no hard feelings either way. But it's given us an opportunity which is worth more than anything, which is the ability to add a 6th ads person to our team and adjust our ratio of client to ads people in even more of a favorable position for the clients without actually taking on any extra overheads. Our salary bill every fortnight will be exactly the same because we don't have this web developer as a part of that now. And that's just an example of one of the things I suppose with these events that's so interesting. You have to go to events, and this is what I like about probably the way the Altitude Collective is in the most part, is it doesn't feel like, I hate dick swinging contests. I have no interest. I've got buddies who I'm good friends with who have fucking they're giants, like they're incredible businesses. I've seen their balance sheets and their P&Ls and all that. So like I've seen telephone numbers on those things before. And so I'm not going to sit there with anyone and be like, wow, I'm so impressed. There are people there, to be fair, who are pretty fucking impressive, but I'm good friends with them anyway. It's more so just, I think, and this is your challenge with something like the Altitude Collective, is you need to scale because you need to make money, but also how do you do that whilst also curating an environment that everyone wants to be a part of? Because as soon as you scale too wide, I have no interest of doing a 400-person networking event.
No.
You just actually couldn't get me there. You couldn't get me there. And we're good friends. To be fair, if you called me and you're like, I really need you to do me a solid and come to this, I would. But like outside of that, that'd be the only, like I wouldn't go there because I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I'm also really deeply conscious of like, we were a company that a lot of other agency owners were watching from like how do we do what they're doing? How do we scale the way they're doing? Blah, blah, blah. When there was blood in the water, we got fucking smoked by other agency owners. Everyone came for our shit. It was like blood was in the water. They smelt it and they just went for us. So I don't have a heap of interest in like going, I've always been a guy who's like super transparent with other, like an agency owner call me and be like, how do you run this? Or like I ran one through like how we do JVs and like all those sorts of things. And then they'll learn how we do JVs, go do a JV, then hire one of my old staff members and then come after my clients. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I have no interest really in like that sort of thing, but I want to network up, and I also want to give value to people who can learn things off me. And I'm interested in environments like that where there's give and take. And I think the Altitude Collective is in a pretty good position as far as that goes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to figure out. And I think there is the scale thing and the monetization thing. But, I think for now, the composition of the group is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So meaning...
everything comes after that. That's the thing. And you fuck the composition of the group up, you'll get nothing else.
100%.
Yeah.
We had... I probably won't say that. I will say that. I had someone express interest in applying, and so... I didn't really feel there was a fit there. I didn't really feel there was maybe, value in either side, right? And so it's hard to turn down a sale, bottom line, right? It's hard to turn down money.
Yeah.
But yet, if you don't trust your gut, and I think that's where, the difference is with business is like, it's very much analytical on a lot of fronts, but then that intuition and that softer side really does play a value, right?
Yeah. I mean, we were talking, I've been lucky enough to see you pretty much every day this week so far.
Big week.
And I'm also seeing you tomorrow as well. But we were
true.
talking about win-win business, right? And like, I think the biggest thing with that group is you need to have a whole bunch of people in that room who believe in win-win business. And
Agreed.
if you nail that, you will be okay. As soon as you put people in the mix who believe in win-loss business, the whole group is fucked.
Oh, that's definitely a no-go,
Yeah.
the win-loss. But I think also... And not to say that, I don't want to beat up on anyone, right?
Yeah.
But I think also you need to be able to both give and receive value. And I think if there's a question around that, then potentially it's a no.
But also the giving value thing, and I've spoken about this a little bit on episodes like this before, the giving value thing doesn't have to be experience.
No, it doesn't have to be, no.
And the challenge is if there's a lack of experience, but there's also a lack of humility. That's the challenge. And early days when like I have a very deep friends group that are all considerably more successful than I am, considerably. And they admire that I am competent and that I'm hungry and that I'm getting after it. But we've just always had a relationship that's been great where like I've shared as much value with them as I can and they've shared as much value with me as they can. And we've all just respected each other and looked after each other. And no one's trying to big dick each other and no one's trying to do anything like that. And in the group, we all know who's the...
We know.
We know.
I know.
Everyone knows. And it's like, it's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good.
yeah,
and
totally.
like, we all just contribute as much as we can. We do what we can. We all just deeply care about each other and we're just there for each other. And that's sweet.
Yeah.
And that's sort of more the thing I think that's hard with networking is like, there's a lot of ego in business. There's a lot of ego in business. And like, I've been that guy, and this is what I'm talking about with that first 4.5 years or whatever. Like I thought I was God's gift to marketing. I genuinely did. Like, I'm not, like I thought I was like blessed, and I am, but not in the way that I thought that I was. And I think just as long as the environment continues to be like that, which I think it is, just for reference, I really enjoyed my time there. And I can't make the next one, which I'm gutted about, but I think that there's a good thing forming there.
I think so, yeah. And what's really cool is one of our mutual connections, I was talking to him about how to actually run it and how to have that criteria for joining, if any, right? And, we're throwing around ideas like, is it revenue? Is it headcount? Is it net wealth? Like, what is it, right? Is there a criteria?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, man, you're good at like judging people. You're good at like assembling like-minded people together. So just go with that. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that is
that
the
makes so
answer,
much more
right? 'Cause
sense.
There's no way. Like I had someone, we're talking once about doing well, where it was like, just show an IR3 that you paid tax on $1 million, and I'm like, well, I can't come to your networking thing. And I'm like, but that doesn't mean I can't provide value there.
That's right. That's
and he's
exactly
like,
right.
yeah, actually, that's a good point. And then I'm like, also like, what is the person that inherits a business but doesn't know anything, but the business makes a shitload of money. Does that person bring more value than the guys in the trenches building it? And so it's impossible, I think, to put a criteria in place. I think that there can be bare minimum standards, because there is a point that you're below that means that you actually don't understand concepts that people are going to discuss in an environment like that. But then also, like, there's nothing wrong with the young cat. Like, I see someone who's like that, and I'm like, I see a lot of myself early doors in you, and sometimes it's nice to be reminded of that.
That's what's cool about having that continuum, right? Like, there is, people that are 20 and people that are 60, and there's everyone in between, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm looking forward to the mid-year event next year, the 2026. Bit of a surprise and delight coming. But we've still got a few spots. So, like, the goal is to get to 20, cap it at 20, see how it functions, see how it works, get a couple of these boardroom sessions underway. And
that was my idea, by the way, everyone, the boardroom.
That was your idea. It came out of the sauna. Like a lot of good ideas tend to. So no, it's exciting. It's very cool. But I think if you can have fun and make a bit of money and provide value all in once, that's absolute winning in my books.
And you are doing, and it's been like, we've known each other since previous old days, and we worked together in the employment that you had in the middle, and I was lucky enough to be a part of early conversations around what you're doing with Alt Now, and you probably need to give yourself some credit for the work that you're doing in the business that you're creating there, because you do have something that you've tapped into that is quite special, and I think that there's been iterations and moments of it that have been right and less right and all those things, as there is with anything, but it's really cool watching Alt mature the way that it is, and watching you start to scale, and watching these different products come into play, and as that business is maturing, and it's just cool to watch. It's cool to watch. I like what you're doing, and I hope it's fulfilling for you, because I think that a lot of what you're doing right now plays into your natural skill set.
Totally. Thank you. Yeah, it is a lot of fun, and I'm in a pretty good spot at the moment, thankfully. It's taken, like you say, I've been in some low lows over the career, right? And so to be in a spot now where things seem to be meshing. It seems like things are coming into alignment, and I don't know if it's the byproduct of sticking around and going through those low points, or if it's I don't know what it is, but I'm grateful, and we'll just keep on going.
Yeah, I think it probably is. I think there's the ability to just do stuff for a long period of time is massively undervalued. I think that, and this is something that I have to communicate with my staff about sometimes, is I'm like, you guys want the tricks to being a good marketer. The tricks to being a good marketer are to run an unimaginably large amount of ads and look at the data and learn from it.
Totally.
But that's the key. And to have if you can do that, and you can maintain an open mind throughout that process, and not just turn into a sausage factory where you repeat the same process over and over again, you will learn things. Digital Simple, I've never done a fucking online marketing course in my life. We've spent $20 million and we learned. You know what I mean? It's not complicated. It's not complicated, and that's how you do it. And I was saying, sure, that $20 million, a lot of it was client money, and we've been very lucky to provide enough value that we've been able to learn on their dollar in some instances. But also, we've spent probably 150, 200 grand of our own dollars promoting ourselves. Might even be 250 now. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but we've invested our own cash in it to learn too. And we've done all of those sorts of things in the pursuit of trying to become better at this stuff. And I think if that's the way that you approach it, if you give things a go, if you receive feedback and you continue to optimize, you'll always get better.
Totally. Yeah. No, I love it. Cool, man. Any final thoughts, jokes, one-liners?
I wouldn't come across too somber. What I wanted to do...
you turned it around. You were going a bit...
I wanted to do, I suppose kind of, and I didn't tell you this, but my intention with this episode was to humanize myself, I suppose would be not that I don't think people think I'm not human, just as a disclaimer, but I know that there is there are people out there who watch what I do that think everything I touch turns to gold, and it is not the reality of what I do by any stretch. But my lesson this year is that realizing that is valuable. And I think that an expectation of yourself where you only make the right decision, you only do the right thing every time is unrealistic. I think there's more opportunity in doing the wrong thing than there is in doing the right thing. And if your intention is to do the right thing and you keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, you'll get to where you want to be. The spot we're in right now is exactly where I want to be. And it's deeply fulfilling to turn that corner. And hopefully off the back of that, life gets real fun over the next little bit. The other one as well, probably just as a closing note, is that story about the person with the Porsche. There is something in, like this guy's net worth might be $3 or $4 million, right? And that's just a rough, napkin mass. But if you own a house freehold and you have over $500,000 in cash and you have a good business producing good revenue, those sorts of things, you can buy a fucking Porsche. If you're not buying one,
if you want,
it's because you're responsible.
If you want a Porsche, yeah.
And the other thing to understand is it is never a time where it is responsible to purchase a depreciating asset just for enjoyment.
Agreed.
It is never the right call unless you're that kind of person. And so if you're one of those people that are looking at these things and you're looking at these guys driving these cars and buying these houses and wearing these watches and doing this shit, and you're like, I wish I could afford to do that stuff. Just remember that like under the hood, shit is often different. And over a long period of time, the people who are really doing it properly become really obvious. But finance payments on a car aren't that expensive. And it's that's probably the thing that I would settle back on is like, myself included, these people aren't often buying these cars in cash. They aren't. Often it's not the smart thing to do that. Because that capital is something that you can use to put to work is way better off than 7 or 8% interest on a vehicle, I just think that comparison, what's that saying? Comparison is the thief of joy. I think that this person that I spoke to was not very happy. And I think a part of that was this concept of like, why have these young guys got these things and why don't I? And comparison is the thief of joy. That's probably all I've got to say.
Yeah, it's a whole other chat in itself, right? And I feel the same way in that there's unhappiness at some point, right? Or there's resentment that they didn't do it earlier where they could. But also, I think take it as a positive, right? Like see it through the lens of like, that's fucking cool.
Yeah. I've had
end of story, right?
I've had hectic garages. I had throughout a period of time this year probably what I would define as my dream 2-car garage, which the dream has now gotten bigger, which is a whole nother conversation as well because they just change because it's just the way that I'm wired and a lot of people would be wired this way where when you actually get to the thing you think you want, it doesn't feel quite as good as you probably thought it would. But and then I sold it and I miss it, but I don't miss it that much. And then I'll go and buy more stuff at some point in time. And I don't know when that point in time will be. And I'll probably enjoy that for a period. And then I'll probably start eyeing up more shit. It's a never ending pursuit.
The book that comes to mind is Die with Zero. Have you read it?
Nope.
It's a great book. And it speaks to the value of doing things, not waiting till the end.
Yeah.
Like don't wait until you're...
Yeah. Actually, this is our final piece because I know you need to wrap. How long are we supposed to go on this?
Yeah, we got to...
Yeah, okay. So I had a conversation, this would have been like 3 or 4 years ago, and it completely changed the way that I viewed this. And it was with a buddy of mine, I won't name him, but he'd had a few drinks and he has some pretty cool cars and pretty cool house. And he had a business at the time that was doing pretty well. And he was just like, the difference between rich and poor is not how much money people make, it's how they spend it. And he was like, the thing people don't understand is that like, you can be rich but not feel rich the same way as you can be poor but not feel poor. And I hate using terms like rich and poor because they're an absolute and really it's like a spectrum and everyone understands that. And you can slide up and down that spectrum pretty quickly if you're playing the game with the gas pedal like I tend to. But have some fun. Don't have too much fun that later in life you're like, man, I really lived it up in my 20s or 30s and now I have nothing to show for it. But have some fun, not too much fun, but also like if you go out and you put in the work and you feel really good about making a purchase, don't feel like you owe anyone else shit. If you're buying it for you, buy it for you and do what it is that kind of fills your cup and makes you feel good. Even if it's going on a month-long holiday once a year, if it's starting work at 10 instead of 8 because you hate mornings, like whatever your little thing is that means something to you, there is no version of the reality where achieving that thing is impossible.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing I took from that last bit. Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Make your own decisions. Don't worry about other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, if you're buying it to post it on Instagram or whatever, let's say it's a car, you fucked
Well, that's
up
a
before you
fuck.
even started.
You're not even in the game, right? If you're not even. Yeah, you got a long way to go if that's the.
Yeah, because you don't understand yourself yet.
Exactly.
That's the problem. You don't know why you want to do it. The approval of others is not the answer.
Cool. Legend.
Hey, thanks, man.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.